Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm. In this video, we're going to kill some bad guys. So last week, when we left off, we had this guy here, and he was, he just kind of does his thing. He just points at you and starts shooting. If we hit play here, we can see what happens. Okay, so he just kind of points at us and starts shooting, and there's not much we can do. What I want to do is I want to set up a system where when I shoot my gun at that character, it actually kills that character. It plays his death animation, and then he, goes off to the, he just lays on the floor, and that's one less character for us to worry about, one less bad guy for us to worry about. So one thing that you have to pay attention to is I've given you a new fire gun script. This is slightly different from the fire gun script that we were using. The previous fire gun script, it just played a sound. In this one, I want to actually play a sound and launch a bullet out of the gun. Okay, so the new fire gun script. So you want to go to your first person controller, go to your sci-fi handgun, and remove the old fire gun script from there and attach the new one that I've given you. All right, so you want to make sure that happens. Okay, there we go. So this new fire gun script, not only does it have gunfire sound, which is something that we want to let's go back. Hold on. Gunfire sound, which we need to retie back to the sci-fi handgun. There we go. It also has a bullet and a spawner option. We don't have those yet. First, let's create the spawner. The spawner is going to be the thing that basically emits the bullet, right? So we want the spawner to be like right on the tip of our pistol here. So let's create a new empty object. There we go. Create empty. And let's put it right on the tip of the gun. Here looks pretty good. Let's rotate it over or move it over just a little bit. Okay. And I'll put it out just a little bit more. There we go. And I'm going to rename this bullet spawner. That works. Okay, so now we can actually add the bullet spawner down to this spawner area. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is create an actual bullet. This is going to be probably easier than you're thinking here. Let's just go ahead and minimize all this stuff. Let's create a new game object. We're going to make a 3D object. We'll make a sphere. All right. Now put it way over there. We don't want it way over there. We want it here. So let's bring it into our scene so we can see it. Let's bring it up. Bring it over. Okay, now this bullet is pretty big. It's a giant bullet, so we need to shrink it down a lot. So 0.02 maybe by 0.02 and 0.02. All right. So now that's a much smaller bullet. Still, it's big enough for us to see, but it's not too big to where it's going to be, big and distracting. We can do all kinds of stuff to this bullet. We can add a new material to it, make it really shiny, spend hours trying to make this bullet look awesome. But honestly, it's going to be shooting so fast, we're not even going to be able to notice all the cool effects that we add to it. So I'm just going to leave it plain. If you want to add some cool stuff to it, absolutely go ahead, be my guest. For now, all I really want to do to this thing is let's rename it to bullet. And I want to add the bullet script to it. Okay, so this bullet script is really just going to have one thing called speed. I found 30 is a good speed for the bullet. If it's at 1.5, it'll kind of just float through the level. That's not what we want. We want it to go really fast. So now that we have our bullet ready to go, we need to create a folder called prefabs. All right. And we're going to put our bullet in that prefabs folder, and then we can delete the bullet out of our scene. And now, when we come over here to our gun, let's go back up and select our gun again. Sci-fi handgun. We can add the bullet prefab into that game object. So now if we play the game, whenever I click the mouse button, not only will it play the sound effect, but it should also shoot a bullet out of the end of my gun. So let's give that a shot. So now for some reason they're showing up, but they're getting stuck on the tip of my gun. And then whenever I move, all right, so maybe, let's see. Rigid body attached. Oh, I didn't add a rigid body to my bullet clone. That's why. So I forgot something for the bullet. Because we want it to move through space, it needs to have a rigid body. So let's go ahead and add a component. Oh, rigid body. And I'm going to turn off gravity. I'm going to make it not use gravity because, you know, we don't want it to like drop. We just want it to go straight. All right. Now let's give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, so now we can see that our bullets are shooting out of the gun. No errors, no issues. We're good to go. One thing you might notice is that it's a little, like the aim is maybe just a little off. If that happens to you, which I've already adjusted my gun a lot, if that happens to you, then, which it will, you want to go into your gun and you want to rotate it and just kind of like make it as close to, let's see, I'll rotate it in on the Y just a little bit more. You want to just keep tweaking its rotation until whenever you shoot your gun, it actually shoots dead on your cursor, which mine's pretty close now. That looks pretty good. Okay, so it's pretty dead on my cursor. So you want to go in there and tweak the rotation until your bullets are shooting right at your cursor. All right. Now, if we take a look at our bullet here, actually, let's take a look at the bullet script here. The bullet script is actually going to be looking for if it's colliding with the enemy, something that's tagged as an enemy. And if it is, it's going to play an animation for our enemy. So this is our enemy. This is our enemy right here. So soldier, we want to tag it as an enemy. Now, in order to tag it, enemy isn't going to be a normal tag that just shows up by itself or shows up by default. So you're going to have to go to add tag and then add a new tag in this list and then go back to your enemy, grab it, and then tag it. But it has to be tagged with enemy exactly like that. Capital E-N-E-M-Y, right? That has to be exact because the script is looking for exactly that. And the other thing we need to do is we need to add a collider. I'm going to add a capsule collider. Now notice that this capsule collider is now on the floor because for some reason this enemy, this guy, his pivot point is set to the floor. So we need to bring the capsule collider up on the Y. So right about there, just basically cover the entire enemy. You could tweak this and make it perfect if you want, but I'm fine with this. This will work for our purposes. The other thing we need to do is we need to go back into this, the animations for this soldier here. We need to find the death animation. We need to duplicate that. So select that death animation, duplicate. It'll create a new standalone death animation. And then you need to open up the soldier animator controller and throw that new duplicated death animation into the animator controller. That will allow that animation to be called whenever the character is shot. So let's try it out. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can, if I shoot him, he should die. I didn't do it, I promise. I'm not guilty. So now we have a dead enemy. who is dead. Now he's still rotating to face us, which is awkward. We don't like that, but I'm okay with that. I can live with that. At this point, we basically have an enemy that we can duplicate. Now, you might be thinking, but Mr. Storm, what's up with he's not shooting me? I want him to shoot me, and I want to be able to die if he shoots me. Yeah. Yep, that's one thing. The other thing is the rotation, right? We could fix that. We could have the enemy move, because at this point, he's just rotating to face you. All of those things are things that we could do. We are not going to do it. You are going to make some modifications to this game as it stands now before you finalize it. Look, we're about 10 minutes into this video. I've shown you the last thing that I want to show you for this project. Essentially, at this point, you could just duplicate this enemy, put them all over the game, and then have your character go around and shooting them, and they'd all die. There's no way for your character to die. These enemies don't move around. They're not that interesting. They're not actually shooting anything at you. I want to see what you guys come up with. I want to see if maybe you go, okay, this is all good, but maybe we should bring in a different kind of enemy, maybe one that doesn't shoot. Maybe I'll go find a new enemy on the asset store and bring in a zombie or something. And maybe I'll try my hand at, I don't know, writing a script or looking up a tutorial on how to make, yada, yada, yada. I want to see some kind of modification to this that is above and beyond what I've taught you already. What we have now, this is functionally the project, right? Let me just check my notes real quick. So this is essentially the project, right? You can walk around, the enemies will face at you and pretend like they're shooting, pew, 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 but they're not actually shooting anything. If you shoot the enemy, they die, and you can shoot your bullets. That right there is 50 points on this assignment. The other 20 points is going to come from finding some way to modify this so that it is better, so that it goes above and beyond. Whether it's you write another script to add some new functionality to this game, or you bring in a different asset that behaves a different way, or you change some animations or whatever. It's up to you to come up with some modification to this game that makes it more interesting. Whatever that happens to be, I'm all, it's completely up to you, but you get 2 weeks to come up with this anime or come up with this modification to the project. The reason why I'm having you do this, okay, is because after this is the last project you have for game development. After this, if you want to learn more game development, it's going to be on you to go out to YouTube or go out to the internet and find resources, find tutorials to help you walk through some of this stuff, help you learn how to develop these projects further. I'm not going to be able to teach you any more than I could, but I don't have another class after this. There's no game development 3. So if you want to learn more about game development, it's going to be on you to go out and find tutorials. So I'm looking for you to go find a tutorial and try to make it work within the confines of the game that we just made. All right? Maybe you want to, instead of using this guy, maybe you scrap this character altogether and make a target. And then the target can have a point system. Whatever. I'm still coming up with ideas. It's completely up to you to come up with a cool modification to this game. All right? That's pretty much it. That's, impress me with this project, do something fun, take the bones that we've built here and expand on it and make it something cool. Thank you for sticking around and thank you for paying attention this whole time. I appreciate it. And hopefully you'll take another class of mine in the future and I'll see you then. If not, good luck.